Excuse me. Right. Welcome to CreatorWorld. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Like I said, there's been a lot of conversations about this relationship between brands and clients, but we also want to talk about, brands and creators, but we want to bring the agencies in as well. Before we start, let's do some introductions. Now, let's go to my left first. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? You work for, tell us about Media Monks.
I'm a Gemini. How does this open? Hi.
Yep.
First of all, I'm a Gemini.
Very good. I'm Scorpio.
Wendy. I'm head of influencer marketing APAC at Media Monks, and we help our global and local clients explore meaningful creator-led partnerships across all industries.
So you work for both sides, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to come on to that in a bit.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. We're your last session before lunch, so hopefully we'll amp up the energy. I'm Sherry. I'm the founder of Editor Of. We're a creator economy startup. Essentially, I'll do a session on this tomorrow, so I won't dive too much into it, but we essentially help creators with hiring a lot of the behind-the-camera team, so video editors, podcast editors, thumbnail designers, everything. But for the sake of today's session, I'm wearing my creator hat because I'm actually a creator. I've been filming YouTube videos for a whopping 10 years. Time flies. And I film videos about working and living in Singapore and cycling, which somehow ended up being a video that kind of went viral. And now half my videos are cycling videos. So that's about me.
You'll have to join the RTFI Cycling Club, but that's another conversation. Stu, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, who you work for, and how, more importantly, how do you work with the creator economy? Because that's quite a long answer, right?
Yeah. So I'm Stuart. I'm Taurus, by the way, just kind of keeping it going. And so I'm currently the vice president of LVMH, working for Sephora's marketing efforts across Asia, Asia ex-China, essentially. For the last maybe 15 years, a bit like Sherry, I've been very involved in the creator partnership space as part of my marketing role. So both in Procter & Gamble, working in startups, working for Diageo, and now recently Sephora LVMH, I've been working with creators in one shape or form pretty much since it became a thing. And it's been a big part of how I've looked at marketing strategies from the get-go. It's been some of the things that I've been the most proud of professionally to do. And how do I work with creators? There's two models that I believe in. One is the more transactional model, which is very common in the space, where you're paying for a particular piece of content or a design service. But what's starting to work for me from a strategic standpoint, as well as in the brands like SK2 or Sephora that I've been really having strong success on, is a more partnership and collaboration model, which is more like the model that I take when I'm working with other brands. So when you do a collaboration with Nike, it's a very different non-transactional relationship. And we've taken that thinking into how we work with creators as well. And that's been incredibly effective, looking at how we help them grow and help them accomplish their business objectives as I work with them to create something that's much more credible, authentic, and win-win for us, for the creator, and for her audience.
And whilst you're wearing Adidas on stage as well. So
yeah, I'm really sending mixed messages out, aren't I, Jasper?
Well, as the Scorpio on the stage, I have to be cheeky. See? So staying with you, Stu, what does a brand like Sephora look for in a creator? Is it scale, or there's been a lot of conversation about micro-influencers as well?
I mean, in many ways, a lot of the time when we enter into the creator space, what we're most looking for is what only creators can do. When you're a big brand, you have a number of different levers you can pull in the marketing mix. And where creators stand out is they drive an incredible amount of credibility. So I can't do that with advertising and media, no matter how much I spend. I'm never as persuasive as someone that has an audience following that's grounded in trust. So what we're really looking to do here, and the most valuable way we find creators help our businesses, is when we can tap into that credibility. But that's really tricky, because if you pay for that statement, and consumers and audiences are becoming incredibly sensitive to that, it becomes damaging for the creator, and it becomes damaging for her audience. So how do you find another way in that also rewards the creator for participating with you and the audience in the form of the content that comes out? You have to find a new kind of way of doing that that makes sure it still makes sense for everybody involved, but preserves the reason you strategically are working with the creator to begin with.
Sherry, putting the shoe on the other foot, what do you recommend creators need to do to be able to work with brands? How do you get Stu to answer your call?
Do you leave the stage with a brand deal here, or? I think for creators, first and foremost, I think there's just an element of needing to build your brand, right? And that starts with posting consistently, posting about what you like, talking about as well. That really ties back to authenticity at the end of the day, because there's no way you can keep it sustainable to continue filming content for years and years if you don't actually enjoy what you're talking about. So I think that's first and foremost the essence of everything that we do. Second is, to be honest, I personally love tagging my favorite brands whenever I do feature them. So I hope that one day they will notice me and be able to be like, oh, Sherry's been using and buying our stuff for years. That to me is probably the most impactful partnership that we could possibly do, because I'm not just someone who's, someone that you're contacting, but I'm also a customer, a paying customer as well. I would love to personally see brands and agencies notice more of us that do that, to be honest, because I think I might be overgeneralizing, but a lot of the times people just kind of go on Creator IQ or Tubular Labs or whatever, and then they just search, we need 100,000 followers or subscribers and above, and then if you're at 95K, you're automatically filtered out. There is no way that will ever get discovered. So it would be really awesome to see more brands look at who tags them, even if they might not follow a very strict criteria that you guys have. It would be amazing. And I think that's where you get the most authentic reviews. And even if it is paid, the payment actually just goes towards supporting the creator so that they can continue to do what they love doing and what they're good at as well.
It's interesting you said those three words. It's 4 words. A lot, everyone talks about authenticity, but a lot of creators we talk to also say, do what you love. I mean, don't go and create content for the sake of content. It's doing what you love. Okay, so you wear 2 hats, or the shoes on both feet. What advice can you give for a brand looking to work with creators, and vice versa, creators looking to work for brands? Because you're working for both sides.
Yeah, I think I'm in a very unique position where the brands are our client for sure, but the creators are our client as well. And we kind of act as sort of the in-between bridge. And I think today's setup is really unique, because usually I'm speaking to either the brand separately or the creator, and we're trying to make that bridge of translating the creative brief while still keep the essence and authenticity of the creator, because that's the main reason why we engage with a specific creator, right? And I think instead of advice, I'm very curious, since we have you both on the stage, how important do you think creative freedom is for both of you? Because I know from a brand side, even with the best of intentions and the recognition of the value of creator partnerships, there are some messaging, information, specs, and product placement that needs to be added that might dilute the creativity. And as a creator, I'm curious about, how important do you think creative freedom is versus compensation? I'm getting uncomfortable here, but.
Yeah, okay, I'll kick off. I think it's the crux of the question, right? Because it goes back to, what are you working with a creator to accomplish as a brand? So wearing a brand hat, if I'm going in there to be credible with this audience and then changing everything about how a creator has to communicate, I am killing the very thing that I'm trying to cultivate. So it's one of the reasons why you need to find another way to invest and add value for that creator that makes him or her find value in talking about you, but incredibly important to maintain the reason that, to Sherry's point, it's working. It's working because she's making or he's making a particular type of content for that audience that audience is picking up. What you need to do is tap into that, understand that, see if your brand can relevantly play there, understand what the creator needs to be able to do even more or grow even further or make more revenue, and then find a way to facilitate that without disrupting that trust. And so a lot of the time, my team does not go in with briefs. We go in with a conversation of, how do you want to grow? How do you want to build your business? And what do you think's working for you? and how could that potentially bridge into what Sephora is trying to do, or SK2, or Johnny Walker, or whatever brand I happen to be working on at the time. And that's a very time-consuming approach, which is why selection, Sherry, is my biggest problem. Finding creators without resorting to the numbers game is incredibly difficult for me. It's where I tap into agencies and sometimes struggle. But if I can find the right person and they can come to me with what they think makes them successful and how they think they could bridge, that's the brief back to me. Then it becomes, how do I find ways to support? What do you need that you can't do on your own that lets me include the brand in a credible way? But I know that's not a popular view.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that, and I know that's not a popular view because that's how we work at Media Monks as well. We often approach the brand and creator trying to get them in the same room, brainstorm together, and I definitely think it will give brands and our client a lot of value to see creator more than just a product placement, but instead of more as a creative partner, right? How you will work with an agency like us, or how you will work with a creative art director, et cetera, et cetera. Because besides being a content creator who create amazing content that resonate with their audience, they're also brand. Correct me if I'm wrong. They understand the audience, and that's why agencies like us and brands want to work with creators instead of your traditional paid media, because we want to reach the audience that you have built and have that we can't in a more traditional way. So Sherry, share a little bit on that. How much you prioritize creative freedom versus compensation.
It's a delicate balance to strike for sure, because I think at the end of the day, there's two things that all creators really care a lot about. One, creating the content that we love regularly enough so that we can grow our community. Two, making money so we can continue doing the first. Honestly, there's no way anyone can continue doing this for years if we don't get compensated, so it's really important. But I think at the end of the day, from a theoretical level, we're on the same page with brands. We want to be able to have the creative freedom. We know our audience best. We know what is going to work. So when a brand comes to us and tells us that they want an unboxing video, and we tell them, look, I have never looked at an unboxing video for, like, let's say a beauty product, and I'm like, oh, I really want to buy that, but I will see a video of someone's flawless skin and want to know what foundation they're using, and as a result, then I end up buying it, right? And when you're able to plug it in so seamlessly, that's when it has the biggest impact. But at the end of the day, I think that part of the responsibility falls on the creators as well, because we need to be on top of everything that we're doing. If we're going to suggest a script, we should actually, be able to follow, generally speaking, brand guidelines as well. You should be on very much the same page and try to achieve the same goal. We're not really supposed to be fighting against each other here. But it is a really tricky and delicate balance to have to strike, for sure.
It requires a lot of trust, right?
Of course.
I mean, the brand has to trust the creator to go off and do what the creator wants to do with the brand, rather than we said this earlier, but here's a storyboard, now go talk about it. Whereas the creator is going to say, well, my audience wants to see this. And this is where the agency sometimes has to step back, because the agency used to provide the storyboard. So I'm keen to know what the role of the agency is now, where the brands and the creators are talking to each other and what have you, and the creators then going out and making the content themselves.
Well, I think as a agency and working with brands, we're really great at analyzing creative results all day. And what I've learned working very closely with creators, influencers in all sort of formats, is that we're terrible at predicting what resonates with our audience. I'm always surprised at how surprised we are. I think the value of authentic creativity will always be in demand and always be needed. And it's more about listening to the audience we're trying to reach, like what they love and what they don't like, trial and error. And I think as an agency and brand as well, our power lies in that we have the abilities to do research, to analyze, and really look at data and results to understand instead of predict what works and why. And I think that is, a more of a direction that I'm trying to move forward to. Whenever a client comes to us that says, hey, we want to go viral, and that's always my first response. I wish I had a button to press and to go viral, but it simply just doesn't work like that.
So continuing the Tinder analogy, is it a marriage or is it tactical?
I definitely think it's a marriage with equal partnership. You need one and the other. You can't have, a creator with 100% creative freedom with no direction. You can't have a brand that wants 100% control. So I think that's where an agency comes in, where we marry it, where you have creativity at authenticity as a core, but also a brand and an agency that can analyze and do the research and data, and that combined together, then you pretty much have your Avengers.
Stu, give us some examples of when it's worked.
Well, I mean, sometimes it is a transaction, right? And I think the classic example is the unboxing, right? I've got 100 creators, all of them are going to do unboxings, they're all reasonably big, here's what I need you to do, go do it. I think those are, as I said before, not super effective, but I think they're a reality in the industry. And I think they make sense for creators because, as Sherry, you're talking about, we've got to find a way to keep the lights on. Making a marriage work is about making sure that the creator can see an end goal for it that's as attractive and valuable as the brand. And that requires a lot more thinking because it requires you to get into what the creator is trying to accomplish, how they want to monetize their brand over time, how you can do that without, impinging on their goals. Because very often, for creators that say want to build their brand into eventually, say, their own product line, their own affiliate sales model, their own eventual endorsements, and those kind of programs, a transaction can be detrimental to that, and they have to really worry about how much sponsored posts they do while building their brand. They need to keep the lights on, but they also need to build greater. How can you help them the right way so that they will come to you first when they have a cool idea and are looking for a brand to get involved, right? That's in background production, that's media boosting. There's a ton of stuff we can do as brands that don't become top of mind unless you start looking at it like a marriage and, as Wendy and Sherry have both been saying, start thinking about what they need and how you can support. And those have been my successes. So I've had no success really with transactions because when you really look at that, I could easily buy media around that channel and get pretty much the same outcome. Or I could get a creator and a very detailed brief and have them produce content and, yes, I would get that content. Would it work with the audience? Probably not because I haven't allowed any kind of creative control. Where it's really been magical for me is when I've set up multi-year relationships with a creator, invested in their growth, seen them get from 100,000 subscribers to millions plus with cross-pollinated with other creator content, helping them get into other markets, helping them using our YouTube or TikTok or Meta relationships to get into other platforms, helping them monetize through affiliate sales. All of a sudden, this creator is then starting to get into mainstream entertainment. That is how brands can really work a marriage, but it is an incredible effort, and finding them, which is where I learn a lot from agencies or my partners, or doing events like this and hoping creators come talk to me later, has been really, really useful.
And many creators don't, no, okay, so I've never used Tinder, so I might get this wrong, but don't swipe up, right? I mean, you have to love the brand to work with them, Sherry, right?
Yeah. No, I was going to say, actually, this whole analogy, it works, but also one thing that I, having been on both sides, both the industry side and as a creator, I really wish would be more valued is when a creator takes the guts to go reach out to a brand with a very specific idea in mind, like, hey, I've been buying your products for years. I have this idea. It's kind of crazy. I don't have the budget to make it happen. But if they come with a proposal, it sounds really great. I'm sure brands and agencies would love to be able to entertain all of them, especially if it's a very high quality suggestion. But 9 out of 10 times, I either don't hear back, which is very controversial, but I don't hear back. And even if I do, they're like, yeah, okay, we'll refer you to our PR agency or the influencer marketing agency we hired. Someone else, you get passed around 5 different people, and then nothing happens out of it. And then you see next week they launched a new product, and then they still went through the traditional route of just splattering their products everywhere through a PR agency. Now you're like, oh, this person just promoted, I don't know, like L'Oreal yesterday, and today they're promoting SK2 for the exact same product. And you're like, I've been buying SK2 for like 6 years, dude.
You need media monks in your life.
I do. I need some Wendy in my life.
Well, we would actually work together now on a project that we're both very happy about. But I definitely think there's value in that, and that's something we look at, not only quantitative data, but also qualitative. Is there any brand association with the creator? I love the analogy of marriage, and what happens before marriage is dating, right? And then we see maybe unboxing, transactional collaborations more as dating. So often when we do transactional engagement, like unboxing, afterward we'll look at the result, observe learning, so which creator really made sense, which creator's audience really loved the product, and then from there we do a more deep dive, and then we build on that long-term relationship that you talk about. Because often it's really hard for, not you, Stuart, because you get it, but a lot of brands to step in and be like, I'm ready to settle down, I'm ready for the commitment. So they do need some test, trial and errors, and some dating around to figure out what works for them.
I would build on that, right? Because I think it's so true. And sadly, sometimes you're talking to a brand that's not got the infrastructure on the other side to support you. So one thing that's been very powerful is you got to find the right agency network to surround yourself with, which is hard in the industry because a lot of agencies prefer the rote model of not sizes, quantitative data, not doing all of that qualitative work and just saying, here are the top creators in Singapore or in Korea. Here, they've worked on L'Oreal the week before, they can work for you. Here's the rate card. It's very easy. And brands also sometimes don't have the kind of time and wherewithal to look at the long term. A lot of the time they're bringing in, they've got a campaign and they're bringing in creators as the very last element of a local marketing program. It's only when you say, if this is really important to my business, I need to start building a front-end engine to manage it all the time, that you have someone at the other end of the line when, Sherry, you make those applications who can be like, this is great, I was exactly looking for this. And then you have to actively communicate it. So, I mean, the only advice I'd give creators is look for brands who seem to be doing that sort of stuff with the creators they're currently working with, and then get on LinkedIn or you pump the network or talk to those creators and figure out how did they get that in. Because if you don't have a direct line into the brand, it is very hard to kick these conversations off. And you don't want to put on all of that effort and then have it land just because it got to the wrong person's desk.
So or have an agency to support you.
Or have a really fantastic agency that's representing you that's really good at doing this. So
marriage guidance counselor. So you're recommending you're a matchmaker. There you go. Marriage versus one night stand. Now when we've got to stop this analogy. How does one avoid it going wrong? So you sit in the middle. Campaigns don't work sometimes. How do you avoid the pitfalls?
Well, first of all, we start with the briefing phase. If we notice that the client's only motivation is transactional, often, believe it or not, we say no. And same goes to creators as well. We look at the quality, we look at breathing space in terms of ads. Is it a creator just take on any paid collaborations, or is it a creator that actually curates his or her content and really value the brand? I often believe quality creators that I work with, regardless of amount of compensation, they will say no if they feel a collaboration doesn't fit their audience. And those are the type of creators that we want to work with. And we're not a talent agency, so we're not tied to any talent pool, social platform. We're client-facing, but I believe every client's need, even every project need, is so unique. So we source, which is a lot of effort. We source for every project unique creators on unique platform. We create brief to get the conversation going, but what we think is really important is to get creators like Sherry to be excited and also inspired to be on board, and then share us her script and brief what she wants to create. We don't want to overbrief, like 1 to 10, this is what you need to do, but instead of, this is the big idea, tell us what you want to do. And me as a matchmaker go to the brand, like, this is their idea, can we make it happen? And then bounce back and forth all day, and then eventually, hopefully, we get to create something that's authentic and resonate for both ends.
Pitfalls?
Less so pitfalls, but I feel like coming out of what you just said, two things come to mind, especially if there are any creators in the room. I think one is, it actually is always really helpful to be able to build a good relationship either directly with the brand if they reached out themselves or with the agency. And I think that boils down to the second point, which is, I think when you are truly excited about an opportunity and you're really excited about the brand that you're about to promote, it doesn't help to really try to go above and beyond what they expect. Instead of just taking the brief and making a post and doing the bare minimum, if you're actually really excited about it, is there a way that you can go next level and be super organized, be super on top of everything. Don't hand in things late. Don't make the agency pound you like 6 follow-up emails before you hand in your deliverables. How can you treat it like a professional environment as well, right? Like there's a level of professionalism that we should also uphold as creators if we want to get more opportunities in the future. And so I think that's really important, to be honest, because I hope that that professionalism that we show will be appreciated, and hopefully you'll be able to get more deals down the line. And so hopefully the agencies will recognize that as well, and same with the brands.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most tangible thing that you can do as a creator when you do get an opportunity, is take advantage of it and do the best that you can.
Well, you do know that if you and Sephora start working together, both Wendy and I are going to come with our hands out.
Yeah.
So let's get into the final kind of section here. Let's look at the future, what the future looks like, and start with you, Stu. What are you more in the context of the conversation today?
Yeah.
What are you most excited about? And by the way, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Sephora are going to be announcing a live brief for anyone who's attending the event over the next couple of days.
Yep.
So that's very exciting to me, because I could be a beauty creator.
You could be, well, we're going
Don't
to
say
need
well.
to talk, Jasper.
Mate, it's 2022.
Okay. No, it's not about you being a guy, man. We already work with a number of male influencers. But look, I think what I'm really excited about is, what Wendy and Sherry are talking about is absolutely right. Wendy made a point about how the campaign needs to sort of have a higher order strategy of what makes people come together on it. And Sherry talked about how important it was that the creator go an extra mile. I think what I'm excited about is now brands, at least what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow and Saturday, are going beyond a campaign conversation and starting to talk about longer-term brand collaborations as the base. For that, creators need to come with a sense of how they want to build their business and brand. Where do you want to go? How do you want to grow? What's your monetization strategy? Thinking beyond the short term and the transactional. Because unfortunately, a campaign is just a really big transaction. So I'm still looking for, and I'm quite excited about building things that feel like bigger investments between brands and creators that stretch across years. Now, to have that kind of conversation, you need to be really clear about how the creator is going to long-term want to grow. Is it platform expansion? Is it other markets? And also, to Sherry's point, how do you fund it, right? How are you going to build your business and get paid, right? If you say it's about sponsorship, how do you work and maintain your audience as you do that? Have you got a strategy? And how do I then partner with you on that? Because that's when the magic really happens. When I see how a creator is trying to build their brand, their equity strategy, their business strategy, and then I look at how Sephora could be an ally to that while accomplishing our goal of being an authentic beauty expert, you start getting into ideas that neither of you came up with on your own. And it starts becoming, well, you're trying to do that, and I haven't got a plan for that, but that's really cool. What do you need to make that happen? And a lot of the time, what creators need is often very easy for brands to provide, but the space for that conversation and partnership doesn't exist. What we're really excited about talking tomorrow in CreatorWorld, which is the first time I'll be talking about it publicly, will be how Sephora wants to kick that off. And, I'm a bit biased, but I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm extremely excited about it. Wendy, what's exciting for, surely it's creator monks now, not media monks.
Social monks.
Social monks, there you go. What's
Influence
exciting?
monks.
Branded monks. What's exciting?
What's really exciting to me is, even though we've been in the industry for more than 10 years, we're definitely dinosaurs in the creator-led partnership space. But I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg, and there's still so much to do. And what really excites me is having brands like Stuart and having creators that are business focused like Sherry kind of, merge a new space where it's no longer transactional, but more brands thinking and acting more as creators with social focus, and creators thinking and acting like a brand and a business and how to grow their business. And to me, that is very exciting to be a matchmaker in all of that. Yeah.
The lines are blurring. Sherry, final word.
Yeah. What excites me is actually, I think the good thing about TikTok is it really opened up this new portal of access and blurring lines between brands and creators. You've seen it before. If a creator shares a very sentimental story about a brand, you have everyone in the comments tagging the brand. It's almost like you're crowdsourcing and suggesting, oh, Sherry needs to work with, LVMH. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I think came out in the last couple years. You didn't really see this happen even 5 years ago. So I think that element of crowdsourcing and getting the people to vote for your favorite creators and brands to work together is so nice because that bubbles up to the surface. I would love to see more brands acknowledge the people that tag them and like want to work with them even more, to expand that roster even more, because becoming a creator, the barrier to entry now is, it's very accessible. And so there's a lot of new faces, there's a lot of very exciting creators to work with, very amazing, authentic creators, which I'm sure there's a bunch in the room as well. It would be amazing to see new faces working with brands and to continue to build that legacy for the brand together, hand in hand in marriage with the creator.
Fantastic. Well, this session was sponsored by Tinder.
I prefer Bumble.
Huh?
Women friendly.
Of course, and any other. No, I'm not going there. So listen, we are out of time. This is my favourite subject. But we were talking about the transactional versus partnership. I love the concept of creative freedom. Talking about authenticity. Authenticity. If any creator doesn't mention the word authenticity, they're not a creator. We talked about marketing and trust, marriage versus one night stands, and this whole concept of going above and beyond in the relationships. Don't just do the, and that's tough, right? Don't just do what it says in the contract, but how do you then go beyond? So it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Wendy, Sherry, and Stu. We're going to see you, Stu, again tomorrow. We're going to see you again tomorrow, and hopefully we'll see you everywhere because you're the agency, and amongst everyone,